Hello, Aries, and welcome to Metamorphosis, your 2021 autumn reading from Planet Waves. My name's Eric Francis Coppolino, your astrologer for the next half hour or so, here with a reading for Aries and Aries rising, which will look at immediate astrology coming up in the autumn of 2021, and also framing that in the context of the very big astrology that is unfolding in the later signs, really mostly Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and then there's some big movements going on in Aries. And fortunately, what those do is they serve to give you a distinct advantage, particularly given the situation that the world is in, and many people are facing as individuals. There's two basic concepts of metamorphosis. One of them is the way that a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and that's got to be a very strange process to go through. But humans are going through something similar all the time in a way, but it's not as dramatic as you're a thing that crawls up on twigs and branches and eats leaves, and then the next thing you know, you're a thing flying around in the sky. That's a big difference, right? To be those two things. And I was having dinner with an evolutionary biologist, among other people. It was a group of people, and one of the people was an evolutionary biologist who said, have you considered that these are two completely different life forms that have just joined together, and then one lives as one life form for a while, and then it lives as another life form for a while? Like, a worm is one animal, a butterfly is another animal, and then they kind of share one incarnation. I had never thought of that. That's a pretty interesting thought, and it occurs to me from time to time. And in human terms, that may be something of what we're living through. But there's another concept of metamorphosis also from geology, which is metamorphic rocks, which are rocks that are formed under tremendous heat and pressure. And they transform under that heat and pressure into something completely different from what they were. And I think that both concepts of metamorphosis apply, because we are in times where we are very rapidly going from one form to another in the style of the worm and the butterfly. And then additionally, we are under tremendous pressure to change, to evolve, to become something different. And there's a couple of ways that pressure is being applied to us, and one of them is just through this historical process where we're being made to, we're being forced to adapt in ways that we've never had to ever adapt before, because the events that we're living through are unprecedented. There is absolutely no precedent in history for the kind of global government that is attempting basically to do the same thing to every country on Earth. And these changes are compelling people to change in deep ways. And that change is either essentially going to be to submit or to evolve. And even in submission, even when people give up everything and they, give up all their volition and they give up all their power and they sign away all their rights, the evolutionary process is still going. There's a lot of people who are going to realize they made some big mistakes in this lifetime, and get another chance at learning the discernment and the difficult process of making decisions for themselves. So one of the forces is this massive historical process that's going on that is affecting everyone their being, their relationship to themselves, and their relationship to every other person in their life. I get into this deeply in the Metamorphosis introduction and in the general prologue. Then there is another thing going on, which is the immediate social pressure. The immediate social pressure to change, to conform, and to either be a different person than you are, or to emerge as the person who you know you need to become, the person who you are inside, who may have been concealed or been hidden, or you didn't have a reason to bring a reason or an occasion to bring that person out. So all of this is going on at once. Let's take a quick look at your chart so you've got some frame of reference. Well, first, actually, we'll start with a more generic chart. So the immediate event that is looming, and it's looming right on the horizon for you. How close? I haven't solved the graphic problem yet. But it's this triple conjunction here. It's Sun, Mars, Mercury, all forming a conjunction on the 8th and 9th of October, right at the midpoint of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde hasn't begun yet. Mercury retrograde is about a week off. And then the triple conjunction is about 10 days behind that. And this conjunction stands as a kind of a standing waveform, whether it's before it happened, during the event, or afterwards. And but the peak of the event, in the middle of the Mercury retrograde on around the 8th and 9th of October, looks like it is the it represents a factor that is going to compel a decision, and a potentially urgent decision. And depending on what sign you're orienting on, what you think of as your sign, or what your primary orientation is, will have a different manifestation in your life. So, for example, for Aries, this conjunction is opposite Aries, so really it's more like that. And it's going to take place in your 7th solar house, or if you're Aries rising, in your 7th house. And so it may appear as if it's about another person. It may appear as if it's about some circumstance that is beyond your control. But the thing is that all three planets involve Aries in some way. I believe Mercury even is an esoteric ruler, one of the esoteric rulers of Aries. I need to verify that, but that's my recollection. Mars is the classical ruler of Aries, and the Sun is exalted in Aries. And so you're in a situation where, though something appears to be happening outside of you, all the significators of that thing are personal significators. And so there would seem to be very little difference between what is happening to you and what is happening around you. And so the thing to do is to make sure that you are taking it all on board, and that you're recognizing the either extraordinarily thin line between your let's say your inner and outer beings at this time, or the way in which you may be tending to project your outer being into the environment in an unconscious way. And so the danger of projection is its unconscious nature, and the right. This is just going back to classical psychology, and the danger of the unconscious part is that it's likely to be what is projected are parts of oneself that one does not like and doesn't want to deal with. And a lot of people don't want to deal with making decisions or making any reckoning whatsoever with their reality, and will therefore tend to project that. So what is critical at this time is that you not let other people make your decisions for you. That's the risk. And one of the things I'm hearing about a lot is people who are letting other people make their decisions for them. I don't know why this suddenly became acceptable. I mean, we've come a long way from the human potential movement of really, which spans the 60s, 70s, and 80s in a lot of ways, because there's still even the 1950s. There was a lot of in the entire beat movement is a self-actualization movement in the 1950s, and then tremendous movement in psychology and psychiatry, and people learning how to be themselves and to assert themselves. And remarkably, through that, there were many examples where a real and potent vocal collective spoke on behalf of the people, but that fulfilled one of the most important requirements of what constitutes an actual group, which is that a group is a collective of individuals. A group is not a bunch of people at a football game all cheering at exactly the right moment. A group is people who are either actualized in themselves or consciously in the process of doing so. Now, speaking of that, well, we'll get there in a second. Let's focus on the group part of this for a moment. The group part of this is coming from Aquarius. So this conveniently, this chart has last degree Aries rising, so it doesn't need to be. We can imagine the rising sign is more like around where Chiron, or is a little bit beyond Chiron. Though that's Chiron and Eris in your sign, and the pressure, the collective pressure, and all this use of the word collective and community and all this stuff is pure. It is pure focus group messaging. It is nothing more than advertising style propaganda. It has nothing to do with any actual, authentic, bona fide collective. It is true there are things going on, but it's also true that advertising has a way of picking up on the collective values and ideals of our time. So if you want to think of a parallel, do you remember, or you can look it up? It's the I'd like to buy the world a Coke advertisement with a bunch of young people standing in rows singing that song. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. And we actually sang this in school because it was so cool and groovy. If you want a kind of a fictionalized experience of it, you can see the last episode of Mad Men, which ends with this ad. One of the most brilliant things ever done in television history, in my opinion. But how cynical to at the height of the Vietnam War, at the height of the protest movements and young people trying to get together, to then take that idealism and turn it into an ad for sugar water, carbonated sugar water, pure garbage. And so there is no doubt. Let's find the date on that advertisement. So there's no doubt that at that time, right at the Chiron return of that ad, and it's she looks like just the perfect 1960s girls, apple trees and honeybees and pretty girls and handsome boy holding a Coke. I mean, this thing. This ad makes me want to take a sledgehammer to something. It is the pure vicious cynicism of doing this, of selling Coca-Cola using the human spirit. That's what's happening now. The collective that's being talked about is no more a collective than a phony ad of the mountaintop ad, it was called. It was a bunch of kids standing in a football stadium in Italy. That's what's going on now. When you hear collective, think, I'd like to buy the world a Coke. That's what's going on. And so so while that's happening, and you have all of this, do we even get to the astrology here? Let's try that again. Coming from Aquarius, which is your 11th place, because you are Aries rising, so you conveniently have Aquarius, 11th sign, 11th place. Part of the metamorphosis going on is a social metamorphosis of actually connecting to the people that you actually connect with based on bona fide, actual, heartfelt, authentic values. Not drinking soda. Who fucking cares? And so that is part of the transformation. Part of the transformation is we all need a society to be in. We all need some form of a social world to live our lives among. And we have spent a lot of time living our lives in a social world that has very little to do with who we are. The way society is organized, for the most part, is your social group is based on some kind of financial status. It's based on some thing with your job. Like in the office where they all work in an office, and Jesus, they're supposed to be best friends. Okay, that bright sunlight there. What can I do about this? I need a little more light on the subject here. The subject being me. Haven't played this game in a while. Okay, so therefore, it is time for you to find your people. Part of your transformation. Oops. Okay, enough of that idea. Part of your transformation is to find your people. Part of your transformation is to actually engage with people where you have a meaningful connection, and that is happening because what people are finding out is that they're not welcome at the dinner table anymore. This has happened to me. In family, I'm close with the dad. He's one of my closest friends, and the daughters. One particular daughter is completely frantic about COVID, and that's it. House closed, holidays closed. Roll up the drawbridge. This is a profound transformation in society, and it is happening to almost everyone, one way or another. And so what this is forcing is people to find people they actually relate to. And what people are finding out is that to actually relate to someone may mean relating to someone you thought you had never ever in your whole life would have had a relationship with. You may be a lifelong Democrat suddenly hanging out with Republicans because you find out, well, they don't try to make you do something that you don't want to do, or whatever the scenario may be. Whether you're with a group of people who are going to get rid of everyone unvaccinated and go out for a sumptuous sushi dinner in Midtown Manhattan. Only the vaccinated are welcome. Or you're one of the outcasts. You're one of the people who's not welcome in restaurants, not welcome among those people. Nobody is standing up for you, and you realize, I got to find some friends. That's the transformation that is going on for everyone, but it's especially powerful for you because of the presence of where Aquarius is in your life, and the presence of Jupiter and of Saturn, and they are influences that will work well together. Both to clear out what does not belong, particularly Saturn, people and so forth who don't belong in your life, and to set limits on the authority that groups have over you, or essentially roll over you. So you whether you stand up and whether you make conscious choices makes all the difference, all the difference in the world. Now, you personally are at a tremendous advantage in all of this. The reason that you're in such a tremendous advantage is because you have Chiron in your sign. And this is a transformational influence of the first order. There really is no better transformational influence. And it happens that you have either the sun or Aries Sun in Aries or Aries rising. I'm going to recommend this reading to all who have Chiron in Aries, a very large cohort that approximately spans part of 68 all the way out to part of, I believe, part of 77. Chiron being discovered late in the year in Taurus in 77. Chiron is going to keep you awake. The influence of Chiron is to remember the constant, nonstop transformational healing process that you're in, and never let you forget. And the thing about Chiron is it often works through inconvenient developments. This is the distinctive thing about it. An astrologer, one of the pioneers of Chiron, never wrote a book about Chiron. I've never even seen an article, but he led the initial inquiry into Chiron, starting sometime around 1979 into the early 80s. A man named Al Morrison described Chiron as the inconvenient benefic. So a benefic is like Jupiter or Venus, is the planet that helps. But what he meant by Chiron being the inconvenient benefic was a planet that helps through a seeming inconvenience of a certain kind. It assists through creating a challenge, crisis, or controversy of some kind. And we've all lived through this, and it is often through the experience of a controversy or a sickness or an accident or a loss of some kind or an enforced change of some kind that we actually make the best progress on self-discovery and finding ourselves and learning about ourselves. And with Chiron so active in your chart for the foreseeable future, you've got this going on, and it is the best possible advantage that you could have given this, and everyone needs to tap into the action that Chiron is making in their chart, the movement or whatever Chiron is doing in their chart, because that's the source of focus of power of the kind of inspiration to drive forward the whole evolutionary process that we are in. And so everyone is under very similar pressure to give in some way, to yield, to submit, to say, well, fuck it. I want to do this. Okay, therefore, even though I don't really want to, I'll do that. Well, I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to regret that, and I don't mean a small regret. We are heading into a time of profound regrets for people, particularly if they know they didn't really take full responsibility for their decision. If they blame someone else, or they used as their excuse for making a decision how someone else feels, what someone else made them do. Okay, a few other things going on. One of them is one of them involves power. And this is a difficult issue because it involves the nexus where the power in society is the power that the institutions of society have over people is largely the result of their unresolved family material. And so you think, well, okay, that's exciting. But the reality is that unless people have done real work around their families, and even many who have done real work around their families, and maybe they miss something, are going to be subject to these changes in a way that can be very damaging. And so this is all described in. Here's the Metamorphosis chart. We'll scan this in for you for Aries. That angle where family meets the power of society is in Capricorn in your chart. And you have what some astrologers call a natural chart, meaning first house, Aries, first sign. Okay, that's nice. But it affects you more than others potentially, or let's say the universal theme works very well to describe you. And what we find here is that there is this new-ish collection over the past few years, really going back to around 2018, of points that are Quayar and Pholus are about family. The 10th is about family, and then Ixion adds the question of what do you do when there's no morals? And so one of the things that says to me, to boil it down into a couple of sentences, is that your concept of right and wrong is different from the concept of right and wrong of your family. It's different from the concept of right or wrong than the society that you live in. It's different from the concept of right or wrong from the people around you. You have your own ideas of what right and wrong is. And where those ideas are the most important to tap as values is where you exercise power over other people. This could mean 100 different things, but including whether or not one steps on people's heads to succeed, how one uses official corporate power that you are bestowed with, whatever, and through whatever role in your role you get in society, and how you respond when others with that power, and we all have at least a little, and some people have a lot, how you respond when those forces are made to act on you. And this needs to be a thought on your mind at all times, and not in the prepackaged way of like all the when you flip on MSNBC, all the ways you're told in which oppressed people are oppressed. Well, this applies to privileged white middle-aged men as well, to consider the ways in which society is exercising its power on you in unfair and harmful and potentially disgusting ways, and what you do about it. And this is all part of the metamorphic process, all part of the question of whether you use this time that we're living through for a growth advantage, or you take it as some kind of a profound disadvantage that just simply does not work in your favor in any way. And how you process this means everything. Now, glancing down at your chart, there's one last beautiful little thing here, which is the presence of a point called Logos. I would say Logos looking like I don't have my thing up on the wall anymore that I had for years, which the time of every planet in sign. But I think Logos is around 305 years, a little bit longer than Pluto. It's a classical Cubeano, classical Kuiper object. The most important thing you can do is get with people where you have a common language. Hang out with people you can communicate with, where you're not constantly mincing your words and pretending to be someone you're not, where you don't feel like you have to conceal who and what you are at all times and pretend that you're not that person. You have the ability to find people and to take the risk of communicating. See, this is the challenge for a lot of people. It's like, well, when do you actually open your mouth and say something? Well, I would assure you that if there was ever a time when opening your mouth and saying something could work out better than it ever has, now is the time. And if there was ever a time when it was worth the risk of doing so, now is the time. And if there was ever a time to consciously put yourself in a position to be rejected by people, now's the time. You want to be rejected by all the people you don't belong among, all the people you don't belong with. I would put that as a goal. And it is happening to people whether they like it or not, but some are really hanging on for dear life, and they're afraid to lose all of their friends for revealing one thing about themselves, or afraid to lose one close friend for revealing things about themselves. And these fears are manifesting. But if your friends don't find an activity that you can go to with them, they're not your friends. If people who you've been hanging out at the dinner table with suddenly decide you're not welcome at Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, they're not your friends. And this is a sad and challenging, but ultimately productive truth to reckon with. And whether we're talking about Saturn in Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius forthcoming in 23, or whether we're talking about Jupiter temporarily in Aquarius, your definition of the word friend and who you count as a friend is the single most important thing in your life right now. And it goes with the Chiron in Aries mission of be yourself at all costs. Be yourself, no matter what they say, in the words of Sting, and the title of my last column in Chronogram, which I'm going to resurrect for this purpose. As Sting said, be yourself, no matter what they say. All right. Thank you for tuning in. If you're not Aries rising, please do check your rising sign. And however you may manage to share this reading with someone that you care about, you're welcome to do that. And you may forward me any questions at efc@planetwaves.net. Once again, thank you for your business, your trust, and your time. Bye for now.